I want to be in the recording.
She's like, hey, give me attention right now.
Oh, you're going live? Meow.
And welcome back to Crayon Box Weekly. I am your host, Carl Abel, and also the founder of Crayon Box Politics. And I'm joined by my co-host.
I'm Vanessa, his best friend.
We gotta figure out a way to make that more seamless. Um, we gotta practice that some more. Uh,
Maybe I should take the lead.
you know, screw it. Why not, right?
Okay.
Um,
I'm in charge. I am now the host.
so today, what we want to do is we're going to cover some comments that we've gotten in on the social media side, but also um, dive into a couple things like the Save Act and maybe the vote that resulted in the government staying open until September, except for the Department of Homeland Security. Um, so, without further ado, I guess we have no one on the screen. No one's
Okay,
watching.
welcome, viewers. Welcome at any
Yeah.
point where you're at. And if,
uh,
listen, if you watch this video later on, if there's a better time that would work out for you, put it in the comments. We do read them and we can, you know, coordinate. Not coordinate.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I could just pull the Marine thing and just be like, I really don't care. Um,
You're fired. That's just it. Fired.
you can't fire me. I run the damn thing. All right.
I'm gonna
So
fire you.
without further ado, I guess we can just I'll share the screen and we will start with comments, going through the comments, talking about them, and then we'll move on from there. So first comment, Vanessa, you're the one that kind of selected these, so I'll let you read them and tell me where they came from, and we can talk to them.
Okay. This one says from RipRed01297 off of TikTok. Yeah, that was back when our allies actually showed up and wanted to help. We worked towards a common goal. Now all they want us is for us to do everything as they call us the bad guys the entire time. So this was when we were talking about, you had came out, you had posted about, we're only a superpower because of our allies, and this was one of our comments underneath that.
Yeah. So comically enough, our allies have been there for us quite often. If we go back a little over 20 years, right? So back in 2001, after September 11th happened, immediately after we invoked Article 5 of the NATO Charter, which created a whole outpouring of support coming from our allies that were part of NATO. We had Canadian Combat Air Patrol conducting patrols over American skies. We had the massive support of Great Britain when it came to going to the United Nations and saying, hey, we want to go out and we want to attack Afghanistan. And we even had them backing us against the United Nations Security Council when we went into Iraq. So, I mean, if we really want to focus on whether or not our allies have been there for us, I mean, they have been there for quite some time. I mean, they allowed us to get them stuck into two 20-year plus wars in both Iraq and Afghanistan. So, this comment right here just shows you how much people don't comprehend what is really going on the international stage. So, RipRed01297, I'm calling you out. Maybe do a little bit more recent history study before you make comments like this.
So I think that like his comment was just more like, like during World War I, World War II, like they joined us and were actually fighting with us. And the last couple, I think, because they weren't physically like boots on the ground with us, that they were
But
felt
they were.
they were.
They were.
Okay, well,
They invaded Iraq with us. They occupied parts of Afghanistan with us. Like they were hand in hand with us in both wars that we started. And if we look at World War One and World War Two, right, the United States sat on the sideline for both wars until
We
our
got attacked.
allies were just getting mutilated on the battlefield, right? Like Hitler had taken over the entire continent of Europe before we ever got involved.
Yeah. Hitler was a dick.
And the only reason we got involved in World War One is because the U-boats were shooting our ships and sinking them. And we are like, oh hell no, you're not gonna come after us. Hold my freaking hoops. I'm coming after you now, right?
It's
Like
hold my beer. It's hold my beer. What's hold my hoops?
hold my hoops, take them off and like
When did you become a female? I'm so confused.
the point here, right, is that we have this, the problem with American exceptionalism is that we have this idea that we are the only ones standing against the world. When in reality, we're not. The reality is that we are absolutely standing with our allies, and that's what makes us strong. That's what makes us exceptional. That's what makes us powerful, is that we have allies.
Perfect.
So, again, RipRed01297. Happy to have a debate with you. Just make sure you do a little bit more research before you come to the table. Who we got next?
Oh, I don't know. You just.
We're learning this as we go, right?
Okay, so this is from Mr.
Chihuahua.
Chihuahua. Okay, I was gonna say chinchilla, but that wasn't right. We must stay in our free speech zones. We certainly don't want those in power to have their. I'm assuming that means feelings hurt, but he put feelings hurt.
Well, yeah, I mean feelings hurt. You know, the
No,
baby
I don't.
talk.
I don't do baby talk.
Oh, little baby, did you get your feelings hurt?
Oh my god.
So
out.
I mean, this is kind of like, what is this in reference to? Like,
this was I don't remember what it was. It was for our like post about the freedom of speech and like what we can do and like where to protest and like to do the protesting. It was that TikTok one.
Okay. Give me a second. I gotta get right in the right mindset. So I mean, like, I don't really have anything to comment on this because, like, this is a sarcastic post, right? It's a statement about like we must stay in our free speech zones because we don't want the people who are in power to get hurt. Because the reality is that when we make protests, when we talk against the current regime, they go crazy. I mean, there was the Emmys. Was it the Emmys?
Grammys?
The Grammys? Whatever awards it was, where Noah, I forget his name.
Good story.
Yeah, I know. The comedian that replaced Jon Stewart on The Daily Show.
I don't know. I don't watch TV.
Yeah, I can't remember. Anywho, but long story short, Trevor Noah, there we go. He made a comment about how Trump had been to Epstein Island, and Trump immediately dropped on Truth Social and was like, "I'm gonna sue because he said bad things about me." Like, come on, man. Like,
it was all true though. Like, I mean, he's been to Epstein's Island. It's not like he was falsifying anything, and you should be able. It's first off, comics. They're made to make people laugh. They're supposed to make light of a situation that's going on just so that they can, like get people to laugh about it, because sometimes things are so damn serious that you need that moment to laugh. And if people are going to take themselves so seriously and they can't take a joke, well, then, I mean, that's more on them as a person. Like, take a joke, like, lighten the mood. There's no reason to always be so angry, and people are allowed to say what they want. I mean, that's in our constitutional right. And just because you don't like it, I mean, if it's slander and not true, then by all means, you have every right to sue that person for slander. However, if they say something that is absolutely true, What do you have to fight on it? I mean, you were at his island. Oh shit, we're gonna get sued. Like what happened? I'm gonna get sued.
I mean, well, the documents show that he took multiple flights to and
Right.
from the island. Like there's verifiable proof that that is a thing, that has occurred. And so
Mhm.
the problem is that this regime, this administration, specifically this president, seems to think that he can get away with altering the truth and altering reality because all he does is make a lawsuit that is frivolous in nature and use the executive power that he has to force the result that he wants, which is why he's won, so, or not won, but has taken so many media companies to arbitration that have resulted in him making millions of dollars. Because what he does is says, I don't like what you're doing. I don't like the programming that you have. So I'm going to sue you. And if you don't bow down to me, I'm going to use the FCC to take away your ability to do your job and make money.
That's terrible.
So, Mr. Chihuahua, please come back. The last comment you made was on September 14th of last year. So come on back. Let us know what you're thinking. We'd be glad to have you make more comments like that. So, yeah, we're going to get better at this, folks. I apologize for how we are stumbling through these.
It's not we, it's you. It's okay.
I mean, it's your fault.
Oh God, it is my fault. Look at that.
Yeah.
All right, and this is from Adam Welch 2. Average senators make $174,000 a year, just shy of $1,000 a day, at 160 days a year, just shy of $124 an hour for an 8-hour day, and they still have half a year left to collect bribes from lobbyists. To top it off, they get that and their health care plan for life. So I know we had talked about this. I know that if they serve one term, they don't, because it's only 2 years. They don't get their pay for the remainder. They have to serve. Isn't it 8 years that they have to serve to get it for the rest of their life?
It depends on the the chamber, and it's based off of terms. So you have to serve a certain number of terms before you are able to collect a pension off of your time in Congress. I know Marjorie Taylor Greene just barely made that when she decided to quit. So I would have to do more research. Matter of fact, I guess I'll do it since we're live and there's
Time,
nobody watching. We got plenty of time. It's only 13 minutes.
right? But that's crazy if you think about it. $124 an hour. That, I mean, great on you for like doing the calculations and everything. But it's like, if that's how much they make in the 2 years that they're there, that's what, $240,000. Why are they walking out millionaires? Like, that's unheard of. Like, I wish in my job that I could start there and then come out of it and be a millionaire after 2 years. Like, it's unheard of. Like, to me, it just doesn't make sense. And if they were doing, the job, they would be there more. They would show up more. They would actually have our interest in hand and not their party's interest. They should have whoever they are representative. They should have their interests in mind and not necessarily. And I'm not saying that every senator is like that. There are senators out there that are good and that they do take the interest of their people that elected them in. But there are a lot that once they get in, for whatever reason, they end up corrupt and they end up looking out for who's paying them the most to look out for.
So it is. If a congressman was elected before 1984, which I don't think there are any, and I could be wrong, but I don't think that there are any currently serving who were elected before 1984. If they were elected before then, they get at they're at the age of 55, they get a full pension through the civil service retirement system. But they can't collect it until 55, and they have to serve a minimum of 5 years. Now, what has changed is that members of Congress can collect a pension through the federal employee retirement system with a minimum of 5 years of service. They won't be able to collect until age 62. If they do 20 years of service, they get to collect at age 60, which is comical because the vast majority of these Congress members are in their 80s. So, I mean, like,
So old.
so, but I mean, yeah, the fact that this is out there, right? So Adam Welch too, top notch on your calculations. This is an insane amount of money for a group of people who seems to do as little work as possible in order to, they still see you puffing on your vape over there. Like, it's not a.
It wasn't me puffing on my vape. Yeah. No, way to call me out, but I had something in my tooth that was driving me nuts.
But long story short, Adam Welch too, again, top notch on your research there. I know we kind of helped provide that information when we talked about the number of days that they actually provide or worked last year. But yeah, keep that energy up, because that type of information, that type of knowledge is what's important when it comes to election day. So yeah, next one.
Oh man, I thought you were gonna do it correctly this time. I always have hope.
I know. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing wrong here.
That's okay. Wow, you can't see either.
No, I can't. Okay, so desensitization isn't so much the factor. Oh wait, Vanessa, I'm doing your job. As it is the lack of justice to the things that have already happened. Like, Trump should have been in prison 50 times over, along with the myriad of other people in the administration. But when none of that happens, how do we not become desensitized?
That's a really good point. Like, desensitization, I mean, you can, if you think about it, back when I was a kid, the movies that I saw, that were rated PG-13, they didn't have sex in it. They didn't have kissing. They didn't have any of that stuff. They may have had like adult jokes in there that at 13 I didn't understand anyway. But nowadays, like, they're so, I mean, even at horror movies, like, I used to be terrified of Freddy Krueger and everything. And now I'm like, we have The Conjuring and all that stuff. The Conjuring scares the crap out of me. But it's like we have to keep upping the ante because of we've been exposed to so much stuff that we do become desensitized to things. So I think that
yeah, so I think that this is one of those situations where they're actually talking, like, you've got good points, right? But RM, I'm not going to read that number, RM numbers is talking about specifically the American public's desensitization to the way that public officials act and get away with it, right? Like they said, Donald Trump should have been in prison 50 times over, and that's true. I mean, Donald Trump should have been in prison for the way that he mishandled classified material. Donald Trump probably should have gone to prison for the fact that he has 34 counts of felony convictions. And he is a convicted felon. And right after he was convicted of those felonies, he was in possession of a handgun in public, right? So, like, all of those things, like, there are just constant, like, he should have been, but never happened. And the same thing applies to other people, right? Like Bill Clinton, right? We know that he is in the Epstein files. That stuff has been out there for decades. We know that he is one of Epstein's sick, demented fucks, and yet he is out scot-free and able to talk shit to Congressman and James Comer, specifically because he doesn't want to go attend a closed door hearing. Hillary Clinton should have been in prison for her mishandling of classified information, because the things that she did with the classified information would have put someone like me or you in prison.
Right.
But because they've gotten away with it so many times, it just seems like the powerful, the people who are in government, they're above the law. They don't need to be charged. And then you add to that the Supreme Court ruling 3 years ago that said, or was it 4 years ago, that said that the president cannot be held criminally liable for anything that he does while in office.
But isn't that the same thing as like, when Nixon was in there? I mean, if that's the case, then he wouldn't have been tried to impeached, for Watergate.
Right. So there's a difference between a criminal trial and an impeachment, right? So impeachment is Congress says you have violated your oath and you are no longer deemed qualified to be a member of the governing class, essentially, right? And I hate to say that governing class, but at the end of the day, the way that it works is that it's Congress saying you're no good, get out, right? And then the Senate will convict, and if the Senate convicts, then they make the determination of whether to remove them or not. Donald Trump has been impeached 3 times.
Yeah.
The most of any president in the history, right? Like he talks about, oh, I've done this and I've done this more than any president in the history of the United States.
You've also been impeached.
He's been impeached more times than any president in the history of the United States. I think Democrats overplayed their hand in the third and final impeachment when he was already out of office. Like what?
Yeah. Like, why did we even go there?
Should have dropped it.
Yeah.
But I mean, they were trying to hold him accountable, right? The problem is that it just turned into, oh, you're just trying to attack a political opponent, and they lost the narrative.
Yeah.
But I think that commenter was right. RM numbers was right because of the fact that we just accept it. We accept that this is the normal way of doing things. So when ICE goes out and shoots Renee Good, or when ICE goes out and shoots Alex Preddy, and nothing happens with it, all of a sudden we're like, yeah, it's okay. This is just par for the course.
Aren't they still on isn't there an active investigation still going on in Alex Peretti?
Yes, but Vice President Vance has already come out and said that ICE officers have qualified immunity, which means that the states can't prosecute them. So unless the federal government comes out and says that he did wrong.
Yeah, that whole thing, like the fact that everybody's been saying is that that when they took the gun from him, they accidentally discharged it, which is what I thought might have happened. And I don't know how I would have, as a person, it's a shitty situation. I mean, they're saying gun, gun, gun. There's a lot of chaos going on, and then they hear a shot. I mean, a natural reaction is that they're trained to do what they did, and I'm not saying. Do not come on here and tell me, comment that I'm supporting ICE. I don't. I support everybody, but I also put myself in everybody's shoes. So I can't say that, when they hear oh, gun, 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 and then they hear a shot, that their natural reaction isn't to do what they did. It's a awful situation. But I don't know in essence who's in the right and who's in the wrong. I'm not, I can see both sides, and I don't know if there's a right or a wrong side, to be honest, 100%.
I mean, that brings us to the next comment, right? So Sloss said basically exactly what you just said.
Yep.
But here's my problem with this, right? And I brought this up I think it was last week, where we talked about the fact that they're treating, they being the ICE officials and to an extent law enforcement are treating the American public like we are enemy combatants in Iraq or Afghanistan. That's where I've seen these tactics before. And so I think the problem is that there is a lack of rules of engagement. When something goes down on the streets of America, law enforcement officers immediately reach for lethal force.
Yeah. I don't know.
Whereas in Iraq and Afghanistan, there are escalation of force measures that were required to go through in a combat zone.
Yeah.
Right? Like the understanding is that in combat, we aren't allowed to just pop anyone off that we think is bad. We actually have to escalate the force and give them the opportunity to back off.
Right. Right. No, and I get that. I think that it's just like I've said before, I think that they don't have, it's such a escalated thing now that both sides have so much tension towards each other, and that instead of following these proper like protocols and everything and engagement, they are ending up, instantly going to the highest form, and it's awful. And like we really need to pull out, reassess the whole situation, and figure out, just like any military exercise. Okay, hey, we did it. Let's pull back. What did we do right? What did we do wrong? What can we do better at? And then be like, okay, let's try it this way. But nobody's pulling back. Nobody's like saying, hey, let's take a step back and actually reevaluate this whole ICE program.
Well, again, the reason for that is because once a group gets power, they're not going to want to give that power up, right? Like that's the biggest piece of this, and it's less about pulling back and more about establishing those escalation of force procedures. We should not be doing this thing where we immediately resort to deadly force. Those guns should never have come out of the holster.
Right.
Alex Preddy was not armed. His weapon was, he was armed, but his weapon was not out. It was in his holster. He was not a direct lethal threat to anyone around him. He had been subdued using OC spray. Mm-hmm. Actually, I think I've read reports that it was bear spray that was shot right in his face at point blank range. Like, the dude was not going to be a threat. And the very first thing that happens is someone takes his weapon, fires a shot, and everyone else who had their weapons drawn returns fire and kills him. Oh, by the way, the two people that actually did shoot him, that put 10 rounds into Preddy's body, were from Texas, and they were of Latino descent. So, again, I go back to every ICE agent is not bad, but right now, every ICE agent is acting in a manner that is bad.
Right.
So that's just kind of the situation and scenario that we're in. And for everyone that's going to be like, oh, well, Renee Good tried to run him over. No, every angle, right? Like every single angle. Even when, Vanessa, you and I were talking about it and I played it back and we looked at it and I was like, oh, yeah, maybe she did. Well, I looked at it a little harder, and he had already taken a step back from the vehicle. She had turned the wheel away from him. He leaned in to shoot her and shot her before even making contact with the vehicle. And the contact was made by him, not by her. So, again.
Yeah, I think it's all like, when it comes down to all of these like eyewitness videos and everything, I think it comes down to like we can all interpret it a different way because we can see it from different angles a different way. And I think that, I can't put blame on anybody for it. I see, like I've told you, I'm the devil's advocate, and you know that. Like, I see it from their side, I see it from her side. I get it both sides. It's a shitty situation. And it's hard to say they were in the wrong or she was in the wrong. Like, at the same time, I feel like both were in the wrong. Like, at the end of the day, like, you both did some stupid ass decisions, and made stupid ass decisions. Like, should you have just it sat there? Yeah, maybe. I mean, would it have escalated and happened to take your life? No. And, but at the same time, it's like, why did you go, as a police officer, why did you walk completely around and then go into the front of the vehicle? Like there was fault on both sides, like, and I can't say that, they were 100% wrong and she was 100% wrong. I think that it was a 50-50 thing that ended up being a shitty situation.
Hmm. I actually saw a map that shows like the hot spots for where ice activity is occurring, and
Mhm.
it also showed a map of counties that voted against Trump. Like it showed like how the counties voted, and it's comical because the heat map almost directly correlates with the voting map.
Really?
Yeah, like there's heavier ice presence and ice activities in the areas that voted for Kamala, and there's lighter ice activity and ice presence in areas that voted for Donald Trump. Um, so
Gotcha.
there's that. And then did you also? I'm moving to news before I shift into something else. Um, did you also see the report from Georgia, where federal officials went in and seized um, the voting records from the 2020 election in Georgia?
No, you, no. Pretend I did. Yeah.
So Donald Trump and his regime are trying to re-litigate the 2020 election, and so they're trying to use their power to say, look, we told you so. Like there's new things coming to light. The Biden administration covered it all up, and the traitor judges, they voted against us, but in reality, it was all rigged.
What's it gonna do? Like, can you think of better places to put our money? Like, our tax money can go to way better things.
Right, but again, consider the source. We're talking about an administration, specifically a president, who feels that the government serves his purpose and his values. They released Trump RX, which is supposed to be this government version of Good RX that is designed be to reduce the prices of medication. And when in reality hits, and people have gone in there and they've seen, in reality, it's not reducing the prices at all, and it's pushing medications that have been completely taken off the market.
Well, see, that was the thing because I saw it come out and I was like, oh, I wonder if Ozempic is cheaper on this. No, same price I pay. No. I'm like, okay, well, you don't save me any money. I'm not, it's, like it doesn't make sense to me. Like there's maybe, I don't know. I mean, I didn't check diabetes medication or anything like that. I know diabetic medication and also anything that has to do ocular, those medications always seem to be really high priced. So, I'd be interested to see, what it is I guess if you're paying out of pocket for the medication, what it is normally and what it is on there. That would be a really good comparison between the two if we could actually get that information.
Well, right, maybe you can bring
Yeah,
it
you can
to
do it.
us next week.
Okay, I can work on that.
That's what we call voluntold, folks.
You're doing the Navy, and I know that. Never again volunteer yourself. Mm.
All right. So what I want to do real quick, and this is like the highlight because I'm constantly watching this stuff, right?
Mhm.
Um, of course, last weekend when we aired, the government was shut down,
Yes,
and when the House and the Senate came into session on Monday of this past week, what was that, the second?
Monday was the
The
second.
second. So they came in on the second, and they all talked, and they gave debates and all this stuff, but they never brought up the bill to reopen the government. And so I'm watching it on Monday, going, "Hello, guys! Like government's still closed down. You should probably get moving on this."
Right.
Well, it wasn't until Tuesday afternoon that they finally got this thing put into motion, and the debate over the bill, or excuse me, the vote was whether or not they wanted to accept the Senate amendments, right? And so the way that it worked is that the House had passed it, it went to the Senate went through it, and they made amendments on Friday of the last Friday of January, which was the
31st.
January the 31st.
No, hold on. I'm gonna pull up my calendar. That Friday was January 30th. Saturday was the 31st.
Okay, so on January 30th, the Senate passed their version with the amendments, and inside of the amendments was an agreement that DHS would only get 10 days of funding, 6 total legislative days, and the rest of the government would be funded through September of this year.
Except for
DHS.
DHS.
Which is great, right? Except for DHS.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that they wanted that is because Democrats had demands. And we'll get to that in a second, but it finally made it to the House. And you can see here, we're using congress.gov, folks, because of the fact that I made some changes to the coding on the archivist, which I'm hoping to be ready for public use here shortly, but using congress.gov because I broke the code for a little bit. But you can see 193 Democrats voted against reopening the government, despite the fact that Democrats in Senate had won the carve out for DHS. And in like the oral arguments was hilarious the way that it went down. But in the oral arguments, you had people getting up, and Democrats and Republicans alike were jumping up and saying, vote for this. We'll be able to tackle the DHS stuff. We'll get through that, but vote for this so that we can at least keep the government open. Included a raise for active duty military, which is great. But 193 Democrats voted against this bill. Okay. The problem I have with this for the Democrats is that this is not the time to play the resistor party. This is one of those bills that should have gotten a full bipartisan support, hands down, because had you not voted, or had all the Democrats voted against this bill, they would have lost leverage, because the way that it works is that now they have the leverage to force the changes at DHS. Had they voted against this, they would not have had any leverage, and the Republicans would have shoved a full funding bill down their throats to include DHS, and they wouldn't have been able to argue or negotiate for any type of changes or guardrails for ICE officials as they're conducting these operations across the country. So I bring this up, and the only reason I'm hitting this is because, you know, I like to talk shit on Republicans all the time. And that's because I think that Republicans are the party with a spine right now, because they're refusing to stand up to the president. And Democrats are just going here la-di-da-di-da with their thumb up their butt, tickling their prostate, because they're not in power and saying, oh, we can't do anything. But the reality is that this is one of those situations. I'm sorry, Vanessa.
I just got a really bad visual, so that was great. Like, if they're a female, they don't have a prostate. What are they tickling?
They're doing the shocker. What can I say? I don't have an answer for you.
Lord have mercy.
God. Anywho, so the fact that Democrats are being like, oh, we're going to play resistor in chief. I don't care if it was one of those things where you all got together and you said, we only need this many people to cross the line and vote for this, and the rest of us should vote against it. I don't care. Like, Democrats, you should have thrown your full weight behind this so that you could have gotten up during freaking debates and been like, we voted to keep the government open.
Right. Use it as like one of those bargaining chips.
Yep. And it would have taken, honestly, it would have taken a lot of the wind out of the Republican sails, because as soon as they passed this bill, you know what Republicans were doing? Victory laps. They were like, oh, look at us. We are showing that we can govern. We're showing that we can keep the government open. We're showing that we know how to get things done.
Right. So they took it as their bargaining chip, basically, and like their hoorah. Yep. Right. Which
Yep.
I think that honestly, like, God, if we constantly keep fighting against the parties, like if the parties just keep fighting against each other, like, oh, Republicans don't like Democrats, Democrats don't like Republicans, we're not going to vote for your stuff, you're not going to vote for our stuff. And that aspect, I mean, you lose complete sight of what you're there for. Like, honest to God, like, come on, like, get your shit together and do your job, not for your party. Like, why can't we just
Hmm.
do our job for the fact that it's our job and not, because if this was anywhere else and we were doing what they are doing at the Senate and Congress, like, we would literally not have jobs. We'd be fired.
Yeah, for gross incompetence.
Yeah.
Like, or
Right. Like,
negligence. I mean, it depends. What are we talking about?
yeah,
I
like,
mean,
God, like, do your fucking job.
well, and so that's the other piece of it, right? Like they would we their employers need to fire them, but we need to be aware of what they're doing and what's going on. I
Mhm.
was watching another YouTube video today, and the guy gets up there and he's like, "Oh, well, we all know that the voting is an illusion, and we don't get to choose. They're all appointed." And I'm like, so some secret cabal is running around appointing hundreds of, if not thousands, of elected officials all across the nation with this one.
Hmm.
You could have gotten me in it's the presidential election is an illusion because we don't actually directly elect the president. Could
Right.
have, I mean, we could have had a conversation there, but when you apply it on a blanket, I'm sorry, listen, like, get out there and vote and do your homework before you do. And what you'll wind up seeing is that those changes will have an effect,
Hmm.
period. But until you do that, as the voters, we're just giving up our power, we're giving up our will, and we're giving up our voice.
Right.
Um, Speaking of voting,
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
give me a second. I gotta.
Pull it up. Pull it up right now.
I'm trying. Dang it, I'm
You better
trying.
leave.
All right, so we're gonna use the archivist today, right? So I
Woo-hoo.
said that it was down for votes, but it is not down for looking at bills. The archivist, the Save Act is what I want to look at. HR 22 and S 128. HR 22 is the House version. S 128 is the Senate version. They're the exact same act. The SAVE Act stands for, goodness, why am I drawing a blank right now? Secure American Voter Registration. Yeah.
It's something. I knew it was something about the voting thing.
Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act.
Yeah.
All right. So here's some key facts about this act, right? So um, it creates a requirement for photo identification for registration, or excuse me, an ID requirement for registration to become a voter, right? So if everyone our age has any type of connection to the 90s, the motor voter registration bill that came out in the 90s, which was in order to ensure that we were making voting more accessible, right, to all Americans,
Is
by
this
just saying that you could register to vote at the same time that you got
your
your
driver's license?
driver's license.
Okay. Okay. I was gonna say, was that act? I didn't know what it was. I
Yeah,
know that they ask you when you get your thing to if you
it's
want to
called
vote.
it's called the Motorist Voter Registration Act.
Yes.
But essentially, what it did is it established a trust system, right? So all you had to do was say, I'm signing an affidavit that says that I am an American citizen,
Hmm.
and you're registered to vote.
But don't you
Um,
have to, let me ask you this. So the Motor Act, like I know when I went to go get my like driver's license and stuff, like I had to bring my birth certificate and everything to get my driver's license and like at least when I went to get my learner's permit, I know they check they check my social and everything. And so I think that makes sense because if you have a social security card and you have a birth certificate, you're proving that you're a American citizen, and therefore, okay, did you want to register to vote? Like that makes sense to me. So, what's different
So
in this one?
what I'll say is that I'm going to correct myself real quick. It's the National Voter Registration Act that was passed in 1993.
Mhm.
Um, so it's the NVRA, and that's what allowed for the motor vehicle registration process.
Okay.
The difference, right? And we talked about it's an honesty system. The difference between the ID requirements under the SAVE Act and the ID requirements under the NVRA is that the NVRA basically says if you apply to get a driver's license, then you are allowed to get registered, right? So the documents that you have that you need in order to get to get a driver's license are the same documents that allow you to be qualified to demonstrate that you are a citizen and be registered to vote in federal elections.
Mhm.
The problem that the SAVE Act introduces is that that is no longer the case, right? Like Vanessa, you and I talked offline, and you mentioned the one of the forms of ID would be the real ID. Well, joke's on all of us, because in this bill, the real ID is not even a good enough form of identification to register to vote. And the reason for that is because in order for it to be a qualifying form of identification, right, the things that allow you to get the real ID qualify. But because you have a real ID doesn't mean that you can use that to register, because real IDs do not specifically indicate that you were born in the United States or that you are a U.S. citizen.
So then what the hell are they for?
So because the word U.S. citizen is not on the real ID, it's not a qualification. So
But
you
I
can't
had
use your real ID to go down and vote or register to vote.
Okay, so but if you go and get your ID, like when you go to get your real ID, they ask you if you want to register to vote.
Right. So if you utilize, because you have to take like your birth certificate and stuff, and we're going to talk about like the things that you need in addition to if you don't have these things, right? So real ID, US passport, and military ID, right? The real ID is only if it indicates that the applicant is a US citizen. A passport, that it's an automatic indication of being a US citizen.
Right.
Now here's the really fun one. A military ID. So the military ID cards that we get, we walk around with these things on
Yeah,
us, and
but
they qualify us and get us through TSA and all that
mm,
stuff.
yeah, but they're not, that doesn't show that you're a US citizen.
Correct. So you can use it, but you have to bring in a service record showing that you were born in the United States.
Well, okay. I mean, what? Like, and that's the thing. I have a really hard time with like if you are a foreign person that has joined the United States military, I feel like you should automatically then at that point become a citizen. Whether it's, when you finish your 4 years or whatever it is, like your first enlistment. At that point, then you would become a US citizen. Now, I'm not saying that they can join the military and go into top secret security clearances and all that stuff spaces. But what I'm saying is, like, if you're willing to go fight for this country, you should become a citizen. Like, there's no reason that you shouldn't. Now, wow, interesting. That the
Yeah. So in addition to that, another one is what's called an American Indian card. But
Yeah,
you
my
can
grandma
only
has
use
those.
that one if it has a classification code KIC on it. If your American Indian card does not have the classification code KIC on it,
You
it
can't
doesn't
vote.
count.
So So, in essence, basically, you should bring your birth certificate and an ID so that you can vote. So, what
so
happened?
this is so this is just for registration, right?
Okay.
So this is just to be registered to vote.
Okay, but what
In
if your birth
addition,
certificate's different than your last name on your real ID?
so then you have to bring your marriage certificate or your name change order from a judge.
Huh.
Um, the alternative is if you only have a photo ID, you can bring it combined with supporting documentation, right? And that
Mhm.
supporting documentation includes a birth certificate, but it has to be a certified birth certificate, and it has to be signed
I'm
by
agree.
by an authorized individual, and must include a filing date and the official seal of the state or county in which you were born.
Wait a second, time out, because I have my birth certificate. It does not have that on there.
Then it doesn't qualify.
But that's the birth certificate that I was given at birth. Like, so you're telling me I have to go get a new birth certificate?
To register to vote, yes.
I'm already
Um,
registered.
well, we're going to get to that one.
Oh
In
shit.
addition to that, right, there is, you can bring your a hospital record. So you can have like an extract of a U.S. hospital record of birth that is created at the time, indicating that your place of birth. Or you can bring in your adoption decree, or you can bring a consular report of birth abroad, or you can bring in a national or citizenship certificate. But those things that you bring in have to be accompanied with a photo identification. So you've already gone through the rigmarole of getting that photo identification. Now you have to add more. And notice what was interestingly missing with those photo
So
ID and
there was no social security card.
bingo.
Why
Because
would you
under the
like aren't isn't that like a huge thing? Like if you're not a US citizen, you don't have a social security card.
technically yes, but technically no. The reason that they left it out is because there's this. I mean, it's a valid, right? There's concern that there are undocumented immigrants who are living in this nation who have stolen social security cards.
Well, don't you think that if they brought it in the social security card that they would figure out that it's stolen because wouldn't it flag?
You would think.
Like, but all right, I mean, okay.
Now, if you have none of those, there are alternatives. One
Mhm.
is an attestation plus other evidence. So if you don't have a photo ID, you can bring other evidence, and sign an attestation stating that you are a citizen under penalty of perjury, and then all of that evidence gets turned in. But if that official makes the determination that you are a citizen and agrees with you, that official becomes criminally liable if, in fact, they are found to not be in concurrence or you are found to not be a citizen.
Okay, let me ask you this because this just came to my mind. What if you're on witness protection? Like you're in
Good
witness,
question.
like can they vote? Like can they register to vote in witness protection? Because
I don't know.
right, like
I
you
don't know.
can't prove who they are. I mean,
Here's the other one for mail-in voting, right?
mhm,
If you submit via mail a request to register as a mail-in voter,
mhm.
that submission currently counts as your registration. Under the SAVE Act, that submission only counts as a notification to the government that you intend to register to vote. In order for you to be fully registered to vote by mail, you have to go down to your election office and provide the required documentation to prove that you are a citizen.
What about the people overseas, like that are in like military bases that are deployed?
The act doesn't provide any type of clarification.
Huh.
So
I
like
could,
these are the things. Oh, and by the way, once it passes, if it passes, it will be implemented within 10 days of passage,
ooh, that's a fast bill.
which means that the Elections Assistance Commission, which is the federal commission that provides assistance to state election boards in the implementation of federal election law, right, would have 10 days to rewrite the entire process and provide that to the states.
I feel like there's a lot of flaws in this bill that are just like there's so many loopholes. Like you expect people to get this done in 10 days. That's crazy. I mean,
Well,
have you been to the DMV down here?
so tinfoil hat, right? And I'm going to throw this out there, tinfoil hat. I think the SAVE Act is designed not to make it easier to vote, not to ensure the integrity of voting, but it is designed to reduce the number of voters. It's designed to make it harder to vote, which in turn becomes voter suppression, which in turn ensures that a specific party
Well, I
retains
mean,
power.
I guess I can see it that way, but I also can see where they want it more like that you are a citizen, you are voting, because if you're not a citizen, you shouldn't be voting for the president, you shouldn't be voting for your local officials, because if you're not a legal citizen at that,
But we've already talked about the fact that in order to get a driver's license,
you have to provide all that stuff
you
anyway.
have to provide all that stuff already.
Right. So in essence, they just need to, whoever is giving these IDs and registering these people to vote, they need to do their job better and make sure that, hey, like, is this a legit birth certificate? Like, is it? Like, are you putting it in the system and verifying that, the number matches what the name is on the birth certificate? Because, I mean, you can Photoshop anything these days.
Right, but again, it's a trust system, right? So the government is trusting me that I am saying that I am a citizen.
Yeah, the government doesn't trust you.
They did for 20 years. I had a TS clearance. Anyways, so,
Oh my God. So do I.
but,
I
but
did.
at the end of the day, right? So when you look at that, all this stuff, all I can see is suppression, suppression, suppression. When I see efforts to reduce the number of polling places in the cities, that's suppression. We talked last year about how there are efforts to make voting, mail-in voting, gone, make it go away, and force people to actually show up at these polling places. But they're
Right.
reducing the number of polling places, so your time in line gets longer. But we're not going to make election day a national holiday, so people who are working can't afford to not work, and therefore
Not vote.
they don't vote, right?
Yeah.
And that typically applies to a specific group of people who are historically tied to a specific political party or ideology.
Well, I mean, yes and no, because I mean, like most places that any place that I've worked at, they have always allowed us to, hey, did you vote? If you haven't voted, please, let us know. You can have the time off to go vote. And they allow for that. I mean, that's been, oh gosh, I mean, I've been working since I was 16, so, well, 14 and a half. But, like it just, anywhere I've ever worked, it's like, okay, have you went out and voted? Are you voting? And if you are, they give you the time off. You can use your PTO or whatever it is to go vote. So that is one of those things that, like, I guess it just depends because I don't think it's like meant to like discourage a certain demographic to not vote. I think it's just that, it comes down to your employers and everything. So like,
But again, you are looking at it from the view of, I think they're doing it with good intentions. But
yeah,
when
because I don't.
every single action
Hmm.
negatively impacts a specific group of the voting population that has historically voted for a specific party
Hmm.
or political ideology, the red flags automatically go up.
I can
I mean,
see that.
that's for me. Like I can say, hey, you know what? I understand. We need voter ID rules. We need to have when you go down to vote, you should absolutely show your voter ID to say that this is who I am and this is why I should vote.
Hmm.
I agree with that, right? But in order to do that, I have to make sure that I have an ID. Now, most states that have voter ID laws have made it free and pretty simple to get an ID, a photo identification.
Hmm.
But now we're saying that real ID documents are what you need in order to register to vote. Well, how much does it cost to get a real ID?
I think it was like 50 some dollars.
$50, right? So if you're a single mom with 3 kids and you're barely making ends meet working 3 different jobs,
Hmm.
can you afford $50? How about the fees to get your certified birth certificates?
Most of the places there, it depends on like it's like to get Abram's certified copy of his birth certificate. I think it was like $10.
And to you and me, $10 is chump change. To
I
a
mean,
mother who's working 3 jobs, barely making ends meet,
I get
ten
that.
dollars is a meal.
I I get that completely. And I mean, I don't know how to like I can see that side where it's like, okay, well she doesn't have the money to do this, she doesn't have that, like she's suppressed in areas, but that's like this is gonna come off all fucked up. That isn't and I don't mean for it to, but like you put yourself like you're in that situation, and I understand that shit comes up, and you have to like me. Okay, so a little bit about me. So backstory. So when I was getting divorced from my first husband, I left there with nothing. Like I didn't have a car. I left with my clothes. I moved across the country to come back to North Carolina. Um, and so like I I literally was making $10 an hour, and I got my first I to me I wasn't satisfied where I was in life. And so I worked my ass off to build up, and I promised myself that I would never put myself in a situation to where I would not be able to afford things. And I'm not saying that people don't have that. It's just it's kind of like circumstances that people go through. And when you go through those hard times, you have to, instead of playing the woe is me, life isn't fair card, I use it as fuel. Like when shit doesn't go right, I use it as fuel in my life to say, you know what? I'm going to work hard as I can and get through and do what I have to do to make a better life for myself. So, like, do I feel bad that she's got 3 kids and she has to work 3 jobs? In a sense, yeah, that's sucks. But at the same time, why do you have 3 kids if you can't afford to take care of your kids? Like,
So, flipping this on you.
mm-hmm.
Ready?
Yeah.
A convicted felon is not allowed to vote by the law. So, what you're essentially saying is that a mom of 3 who's working her ass off to provide for her kids falls within the same group as that convicted felon and should not be allowed to vote because she can't afford to vote.
No, that's not what I said at all. You just twisted everything I said to make it fit a narrative.
But that's what's going on, right? You said she put herself in that situation, and you have to, and when you're in that situation, you have to knuckle down, right? Mom's going to make a decision. Do I pay $10 in order to make sure that I can register to vote? Or do I make sure that my kids have food in their
Right. No,
bellies?
and
Mom's going
trust
to
me.
make the decision to feed the kids with
Right,
food, right?
absolutely.
And
But
so
then
what
there's
you're saying
also
is that her
there's
decisions have put her in a position where, hey, you know what? If you can't afford to vote, then you shouldn't be allowed to vote. Is that something that we want to have as an established process in the United States when it comes to voting for our elected officials?
no, but you're twisting what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that like so there's so many government programs out there. Like so many. Do I think that, there should be a way to where, hey, you are at a certain income level. Okay, so you qualify for, food stamps, you qualify for Medicaid, whatever like that. Okay, then that should also include your IDs. Like if you are that hard up that you can't afford to get the ID, then it should be included in the programs that the government has already established to set up. Okay, so you need to get an ID. Okay, well, because you are on Medicare, Medicaid, whatever, food stamps, here you go. Okay, we will take care of the payment, the $50 to get your ID. Like that would make sense to me to throw it in there. So, like I'm just saying I can't, I don't like the whole victim people, like when people use it like, oh, well, this is me and I can't do this and I can't do that. Like you can, it's just harder. It's a lot
Right.
harder.
But that you're kind of making my point for me, right? Like I'm not saying that a woman with 3 kids who's working 3 jobs in order to make ends meet is a victim, right? I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that as we continue to implement these rules
Hmm.
and make it harder and harder and harder exponentially for someone in her shoes to exercise her right and her civic obligation to vote, we are cutting them out of the process.
So if it's not, so if
You
she,
said should implement processes to allow her to get an ID, should eliminate the fees if she's on these programs.
Mhm.
Should, right? You said should, not because like the things are actually occurring. It's should because those things aren't being implemented.
Oh, I
So
don't.
I go back to these rules are being implemented in a way that are intended, explicitly intended to prevent people like her from voting.
So if you don't have, okay, so say that you can't afford to get your real ID, okay, and pay that $50, but you can take your birth certificate and everything like that and go down to register to vote and show that you are with these things. Why would they have to pay more to register to vote?
That's if she has all that stuff.
If she, okay, if doesn't have her birth certificate.
Now
Okay.
she's got to pay a fee to get her birth certificate.
Right, but you also said in that act it was you can also get like the doctor's record of when you were born, like the medical record, and bring that in. So
Yes, the hospital record.
yeah, most of the time those are free. I'll be honest with you. It's a release of information. They're free for you to, as a person, to go in to the hospital and ask for your medical records. They're free, and they'll get them.
Right. But it depends, right? As a recruiter, I used to have to go down and I had to foot the bill for these kids who were requesting medical records for them to enlist. And I had to foot the bill because their parents just didn't have the money to do it.
What hospital's charging for their medical records?
Kaiser Permanente.
That's ridiculous. Like
So
your medical record, that's your medical record. It shouldn't be a fee.
shouldn't be, right? But they have process. And what I'll say is that it wasn't like, oh, you have to have a fee to get it. It was a processing fee for them to do the administrative work to pull the record.
Okay. That's
Right. So I mean, but that's the thing. That's how it works across the board. And so at the end of the day, what the Save Act is doing, and what all of these supposed voter security and anti-fraud laws are doing is establishing a financial bar in order to vote. We're going the wrong way on this voting thing. If it were me, as soon as you were born in the United States, guess what? You're registered to vote. Period.
yeah, but then but then you have that whole like you're not 18, you can't vote. You're not, so why you can't register until you're 18 to vote anyway.
You don't get to exercise the right until you turn 18, but you are registered right away as soon as you were born, right? Like
Yeah, but then
that should be a process.
it should be. However, just like, people can be like, "Oh, okay, well, my son is 12. He's registered to vote because he was born, 12 years ago.
Mhm.
So, therefore, hey, I'm Abram. Or you go be Abram and go register or go vote because you are registered, and as a registered voter, you can vote."
That's a simple thing where in the database it's flagged that you're under the age of 18.
Okay.
Like that's a simple flag, right? To make sure that people aren't voting as other people and to prevent fraud. But
Yeah.
the burden of preventing fraud is not put on the citizen, it's put on the government where it belongs, right?
Right.
In a court of law, the burden of proof applies to which part of a lawsuit.
Are you asking me a question?
I'm asking you a question.
Repeat the question again.
In court,
Mhm.
the burden of proof falls on which side of the lawsuit?
The Burden of proof has to be on the defendant.
Nope. The burden of proof falls on the accuser. You are presumed innocent until proven guilty. And
Yeah.
the responsibility of the accusing party to prove that you are guilty. What we are doing with the SAVE Act and what we are doing with all of these other laws that we're putting into place to make it harder to vote is we are putting the burden of proof on the citizen or the accused to prove that they are a citizen and they have a right to vote. It should be the government's responsibility to prove that you are not a citizen and that you are not okay to vote.
Right. It should be a database, and like you should have it kind of like when you go to like do a car loan. You should put a like do an application online to my application to vote. And then it'll say upload these documents. Okay, here you go. Click click or whatever. Boop, there you go. Now it's in a database. Now you have it, and then when I go to vote, it's already in the database. And I can literally, I mean, click, there you go. Here's a picture. For those that don't have it, libraries and that still have that you can
It's
go and
already that already exists.
well, so then why are
Every
we
single state has a voter registration database.
right? So then why are we starting these new fucking bills? It just
To
seems like a
set
waste of
a
money.
bar and prevent a specific group of people from being able to vote.
We're gonna agree to disagree. I'm gonna say
But you literally, like, our whole conversation literally just walked through all of the things
hmm
and the stuff, right? And you're still saying, but I can see the reasoning behind it. Well, I can too. But
Yeah.
they're not doing anything to make it easier for people to vote.
Right. No, and I'm
They're
not
making
saying
it harder.
right, and I understand that point, but I don't think that they're doing it to single out individual groups. I don't see it that way. And
If
that's
that
what
was the case, they would have made carve outs to ensure that those types of people had the ability to register to vote.
I agree with that, but at the same time, like I don't think it was and I mean I don't think people I'm the I don't know. I just don't think people are that fucked up that they will do things like that. And maybe that's because I'm naive of to it because I don't I'm not that way and I'm not going to single people out just because of who they are or the situations that they're in. But it's like ugh, like
So the word that I can use, right, is privilege. And you and I grew up in our generation. We're so tired of hearing like, "Oh, your privilege is showing. Your privilege is showing. Your privilege is showing." Well, guess what?
stop.
Right?
Somebody told me because I it's a privilege. I have the privilege of not having to watch the news.
I mean, you do.
I mean,
I mean, you do, because the reality is that the things that are going on right now in the world, especially in our country, don't necessarily directly impact you. So you don't need to watch the news to figure out what's going on, because you can continue to live your day-to-day life completely oblivious of what's going on,
but even
right?
when it did affect me, you know, like when I was married to a service member that was deployed in Afghanistan and Iraq, that's that's when I actually stopped watching the news because I was like, I don't want to watch this. They just report bad stuff and I don't care to. That was what in 2008. Let me just tell you, I have not
But
missed a
I
damn thing.
but that's the thing you have, right? We've gone from a President Bush who just looks like a buffoon and can dodge shoes at a conference in Iraq, right, to uh, a red painted faced wannabe autocrat who wants to rule the entire United States with fear and just like a total iron grip. I mean, he talks about wanting to make the federal government take over the electoral system. And the reality is that he can't, because per the Constitution. And even in a press conference goes, well, I don't know why the federal government doesn't run elections. Well, guess what? You idiot. You swore an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, and you don't even know what the fucking thing says.
Right. No, I agree. I agree. I mean, I can't say that I know the Constitution in and out. I mean, I took principles of democracy in high school my senior year, but at the same time, like let me just tell you, Nope. It's kind of like the whole James doesn't believe I was in the military because when he tells me something, I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah, you were you not in the military? I'm like, okay, listen. It's just, I don't, I'm not a big, it doesn't fascinate me. It doesn't tweak my interest. So I don't invest into it.
Hmm.
And so therefore, like, I will now, if you talk to me about chemistry and talk to me about anatomy and physiology, I mean, I got you. Let's go. I can go with it. But when it comes down to politics, like I don't know the inner workings. I don't know how it works. I get most of my information. I get it from you. But just like me, I'm a devil's advocate. I'm gonna play and I'm gonna put in both sides of, you know, educate me, but educate me with what how I'm seeing it and everything. And that's my take on things is that I go back and forth, and you know that. Like I always tell you, I'm like, well, have you thought about it this way? And you're like, bestie, like pick a side. Like I know, I can see it in your face sometimes where you're like, how do you not see this?
But you do. So that's the other piece, right? Like we got to take sides. We
No,
have to. We have to take a side. We have to take a stand and say, listen, like what is happening is wrong, or what is happening is right, and you've got to
it's
make that
gray.
call. There
Everything's
is no there's no gray.
there
It's
is
not
gray.
when it comes to civil rights and civic rights, right? Like when it comes to the way that we are handling the our democracy, there is a right and a wrong. There is no gray.
Well, yes, how our democracy, yes, I can see that portion of it. What I'm saying though is like when things come out like should we abide by the Constitution? Yes, I agree with it. Do I think people have the right to say what they want and have their freedom of speech? Absolutely. But there has to be
Consequences.
what do you mean?
So
Did you just try to finish my sentence?
yes.
Okay, go ahead. Why do they need consequences?
Hmm.
I don't
Okay,
think it's
so like
consequences.
you have the right to run around a crowded movie theater
No, no, no.
screaming fire. You
Yeah, but
have the right to do that, right?
there's a
But
consequence.
there are consequences for
Yeah.
doing so.
Yeah, you need to exercise it. Like, just because you can doesn't mean you always should. And I think that's
Correct.
where people think it. They're like, "Oh, it's my freedom of speech." Yes, it is, but there's a time and a place, and
Hmm.
you have to you have to have some type of smarts. And like I'm a firm believer in that. That survival of the fittest. Like every species has a survival of the fittest, and we have protected so many stupid people that don't educate themselves, and it's just like
Hmm.
common sense is not common anymore. People don't have it, and they're like, oh well, that's my freedom of speech, and I can yell fire, and oh, a lady died because she got trampled by people running out because they freaked out. Well, that's not my fault, but it is. Like that's where common sense would tell you, hey, this isn't the right time, and it's not funny to do that, but if you're talking amongst, people, and you are at the Grammys and you say what you say about, oh, Trump was at Epstein's Island and he gets upset about it. Well, maybe you shouldn't have went. Like, or just be
Hmm.
like, own it. How about that? How about we all, like, why can't people own the decisions that they've made and be like, okay, yes, I thought he was an upstanding person or whatever you fucking felt that he was at that time with the knowledge you had at that point. But then show, hey, once I found out, I stopped. Like, I haven't been there since this time. Like, yes, I understand that what he was doing, but I didn't know. Like, own it. And I think people would have way more respect for people if they could just own the stupid decisions that they make without all the knowledge that they had before it.
Remember
Or
the remember the time in our life when there was a party that focused on personal accountability and
no,
ownership of mistakes?
no,
I think it
no.
had an elephant as its, it started with an R, log house, like Abraham, the party of Abraham Lincoln. Like That's the thing. Now we have the two parties that are doing the exact same fucking thing.
But
Um,
isn't that what like our founding fathers like warned us against is a two-party system?
yes. Well, specifically George Washington, because I mean, our founding fathers. That's another topic for another day. But our founding fathers are the ones who made the fucking party systems.
Yeah, which is stupid. And then they warned against the two-party system
Well,
because it would destroy it.
George Washington warned against the party system
Right.
because factions can be split.
Yeah. And when you split
Um,
them, this is where we're at.
Yeah. So I guess we ran a little long on our show today. But I did do an interview with Zolal Habibi, who is an Iranian rights and women's rights activist, and she is part of the global Iranian resistance. You should check that out. It's on the podcast. It's also on YouTube. Great interview, great conversation. This week, I've got an interview with a guy by the name of Bob Gaddy. He runs the show Lean to the Left. I was actually a guest on his show. We had a great and amazing conversation that was full of nothing but laughter. That show will be coming out on this Friday, so listeners will be able to listen to it, and we'll get shorts out there.
It's coming out Friday the 13th.
Damn.
Just so you know, February and March both have a Friday the 13th.
Well, I know where I will not be going outside of my house on those days.
How's that come out?
But without further ado, I just want to say, folks, if you are listening to this at home after the fact and when it is no longer live, please drop your comments in. Tell us what you're thinking as we go through the segments. And feel free to shoot us emails. Contact at cranboxpolitics.com. We'll get to both myself and Vanessa. I think you're connected to that. But until next week, that's it for Crayon Box Weekly. I'm Carl.
I'm Vanessa.
Stay informed, stay engaged, and always